Hello, everybody. This is the What is on the Tabletop podcast. My name is Symbio Joe. You can call me Joe. And my guest today is one of the hidden treasures of the Instagram community, in my opinion. He falls in line with the greats like Don Zipthorpe, in my opinion. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arjan. My Instagram handle is atelier.ag. And yeah, I do a lot of fantasy sculpting, I guess. Um, and I'm happy to be on the podcast. So yeah.
And I'm very happy to have you. And you mentioned the sculpting, and I want to jump right in with the specifics
Yes.
because you are a regular, as I am, of the Creature Caster conference, where we watch
Yeah.
the great High Fleet Moloch for Hydra, and of course Modern Synthesist, the great host, doing their green stuff and epoxy magic and sometimes milliput, and you work with these
Yeah.
putties, and you have a YouTube channel where you share your knowledge in how to sculpt, which is
Yeah.
very interesting to watch because you are doing some amazing stuff from scratch, and you have everyone, you make it possible for everyone to participate, to watch and learn. And from my standpoint of being a little bit past the novice knowledge of all the stuff and working, you I see a lot of combination work. I see you combinate Fimo professional and green stuff, and you working with epoxy.
Yeah.
And the hook with Fimo is that you have to bake it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's like a polymer clay. Yeah.
yeah, and my first and most burning question is: is green stuff still involved in this process, or how does green stuff react with the baking temperature, or is that something you should do when all the baking is done?
Um, Yeah, so I'm working on a series of videos right now to basically it's a how to sculpt miniatures. And so what I do is I make an armature out of metal wire, and I put on a layer of green stuff, and after that I go over it with a polymer clay. So the green stuff on the armature, it actually goes into the oven, and I it doesn't change a lot. It goes a little bit darker and harder. So I don't think you can bake it I don't know, multiple times, but it holds up quite well. And so sometimes I even um, mix the polymer clays and the epoxy clays, like green stuff and Fimo, for example. Um, this is a little bit strange. I'm also like experimenting with this because the one of the polymer clays I was using was not very sticky, so I mixed it with green stuff because green stuff is very sticky, and it kind of makes it strange because you're working with a clay that you have to bake in the oven, but at the same time the green stuff that you mixed inside is starting to harden, so you increase the working time that you would have with green stuff, but to fully cure it, you have to put it in the oven. And it was quite interesting to work with that. Um, but yeah, I'm mixing a lot of stuff and trying to see what works and what doesn't. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it was interesting for me to know because in my first interview with Don, who does the false miniature casting, where he basically burns out the miniature that is in the
yeah,
plaster cast, he said that green stuff is not very good for it because it leaves a lot of residue and it is suboptimal.
yeah,
And as saw you working that way, it was a question that sprang to my mind. So, as I am on the sidelines of that business. I work with green stuff and the epoxy green stuff mixture, but
Hmm.
as I see the people I'm looking up to who are better at me at the job working in with different putties, well, sooner or later, I guess I have to change, at least in my opinion. And I mean, I see a lot of brilliant green stuff work, just blank green stuff work out there. But I think everybody has to find his or her own way to work with the putties.
Yeah,
You especially say that you like the metal tools way more than the silicon tools,
yeah,
while I myself only go to the metal tools when I need really sharp edges or
yeah,
so.
yeah. Like sorry.
It's it. I think it is mostly due to I use right now I'm working with very organic forms like carapaces and tyrannid stuff and alien and squishy and tentacly, and you don't have a lot of sharp edges there, but it occasionally appears.
Yeah, like for me, I have some silicone tools, and I sometimes I use them, but like for me, having the control of a metal tool is it's yeah, it's kind of difficult to explain. Um, like for example, when I make a mistake, when you make a mistake with a metal tool, of course it's very obvious, very direct, a harsh line where you didn't want one. Um, but I can really work on details with these metal tools. But if I then start to use a silicone tool, I feel like I'm just squishing all my details and like softening up my sculpt where I want those crisp edges to really yeah to
To be
uh,
visible.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, it comes with the elasticity, elas, the wiggliness
Yes, the wiggliness.
of the wiggliness of the silicone tool, because you have to push, but then there is still the density of the rubber itself, which still pushes a little bit, and that makes it a great difference to a metal tool where a push is a push and
Yeah,
nothing will happen while you leave your tool at a certain point.
yeah. I feel like it's also like the silicone tools, they have kind of have a delay in sculpting because of this squishiness. Like the surface that you're sculpting is actually behind your because of it the moving tip. I feel like I quickly go too fast with my silicone sculpting tool, and where with a metal tool I can like I'm working on this exact point of my tool, and it feels more natural. I think it's something like that, but it's difficult to explain,
Well,
and everybody has their preferences, of course.
yeah, of course, and of course, you have a limited range of detail with the silicon tool, because what I see pretty regularly is that people modify their metal tools. They
Yeah,
sharpen it, they bend it a little bit to get better detail, and you cannot do that with a rubber-like
yeah,
medium like silicone. And yeah, as I said, I'm working right now in very organic forms, but the occasional armor plate pops up in between, or something that needs more work or more thinking into the work. I struggle a lot of times with smooth surfaces, and
yeah,
it is basically a thing of patience, just patiently shoving the putty around and
yeah.
until you have that flat surface. And most of the time I run of patience, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, what I recently found out is that like almost every putty or clay that I use, it dissolves with isopropyl alcohol. And like to really get a smooth result, I just took an old brush and I smoothed my work with isopropyl alcohol and a brush. And this really it really makes a big difference actually. You can um, yeah, use any tool you want, and all the fine things that you still see that you cannot really remove with your tool, or maybe you're not comfortable with in removing with your tool, the brush, it can just smoothen them out, and it works great for me actually.
Yeah, I think there's the reason why people always say start with uh, more green stuff or more epoxy so you can cut away at it,
Yeah,
because when you have to re-add it later you have a lot of funny business with cleaning out gaps and the new line you created, and
yeah,
it is way easier just to reduce the um,
yeah. I'd like to cut pieces away when it's hardened, or to sand it, or
yeah.
to stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, totally.
So, talking a bit about your work and, of course, my lack of patience, which results in a immediate admiration of your work, which seem to require a lot of patience or a lot of dedication. And I bring up your first dice tower, the castle,
Yeah,
or the tower, which you made of epoxy and some other material. The
yeah,
video how you made it is on your YouTube channel as well.
yeah.
And
It's like
just
I think like I started with Sculpey, but then I ran into some problems, and I continued with epoxy sculpts. Yeah,
yeah, and just the sheer mass of detail on that thing. It is the you manage to get the structure of the natural stone so well. You put in wood planks in on top of the tower. You put wood planks in, and I let the video run for the viewer. What we are seeing is you put actually two accesses to this dice tower. You can take off the roof and let a dice fall in, and to the side you have a balcony where you can also put a die in, which is I just is that necessary or is it just cool?
no,
Because
like
I'm not entirely sure about it. Because you could rest the die on the balcony and just put it in, or was it?
yeah, I think I started with the idea to just take off the roof, and then I was working, and I was thinking like, it would be cool if I could remove the balcony as well. And then like the moment I think of something like that, I cannot let it go, and I have to do it. Like I think it's like that with most of my work. I think of it, I can't let it go until it's done. It's um, yeah, it's like a neurotic tick, I think.
I'm well. If that is so, I have it too. Or well, you have these phases of relaxation, the infamous shower thoughts or
Yeah,
thoughts that haunt you when you actually are trying to sleep. And sometimes a lot comes off of it, and well, in in when I was younger, I was going after that. I was just getting out of bed, writing a note down, or start to work on something. And now it is more. It was with my orc mechas, which are based on a sketch of Toriyama, because a friend looked at the deathcopters of the orcs, and he
hmm
said, "Oh, do you know what would look really cool if you made a mech out of it?" And I was like, "Yeah, That would look really cool. Oh
Yeah,
goddamn! Now I have to do it.
yeah. Now you have to do it, and then it's like the moment that ideas in your head, like I cannot let it go. I mean, I still have some ideas from um, yeah, from before I started sculpting that I think like, ah, yeah, I really would love to make something like this, and then yeah, eventually I will get to it, or maybe not, but um, yeah, this idea in your head, and for me, the sculpting, it really, I can create all these things that are in my head, and it works uh, almost therapeutic or something to yeah to be able to sculpt them and create them in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, there is a there, well, there is the crux of this situation because I think every young person starts out very enthusiastic and very creative and is in the same spot, wants to realize his or her ideas, and then they start, and then because of a lack of experience in training, it does not look like it did in their head,
Yeah,
and this is something you just need to overcome, I guess.
yeah. And like when I started sculpting, which was not that long ago actually, um, like I watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and I really got a lot out of those, like a lot of informations and tips and tricks and whatever. But at the same time, it was like a lot of trial and error and see what works and what works for me. Um, and I felt like I'm doing all this work. Why not like make my own videos and like just explain what I'm doing and um, yeah, to share my thoughts and my ideas on yeah what's possible. I think yeah, and there was for me it was really nice to be able to do that.
Are you someone who, if things do not work out, goes back to start or breaks something down and reworks something, or are you finishing or throwing away and start anew? Or are you something in between? What is your way of working when something does not work out as you expected?
Um, like I will never like for example with another dice tower that I made from the nautiloid, like the squid thing. Um, like I had an idea of how I wanted to make the inside of the dice tower, and like while I was doing it, I was like, oh my god, this is not working. It's not going to be okay. But like I don't have any problems like rejecting this idea, but I will never reject the project. I will finish the project no matter what. But I have no problem in putting in a lot of hours into something that does not work or doesn't look right, and then throw it away. So, but I will finish the project. That's no matter how much time I put in it, the project will get done. Um, but yeah, sometimes yeah something fails miserably and you have to start over, and that's like part of the job, I think.
Talking about the dice tower, the second dice tower, the Nautilus, I just I had already put it up because it is a beauty to behold.
Thank
What
you.
what I wanted to ask you is because there is a immensely there is so much structure on that thing, so much um, that makes it look living and real, and the curled up shell.
Hmm.
How much time went into getting the structure on that shell?
um like just the shell, I have to think, because like I started out with like how does this clay, how is this clay, like it's a type of plasticine and it's a clay that doesn't harden. So I worked the basic shape, which was quite fast. I think like maybe 2 hours. I had the basic shape. Um, then I used paper mache to create the shell. And then afterwards I could remove the plasticine so I would end up with a hollow form. And then I went over that with a polymer clay. I think it was like 2 or 3 days of work in total for the shell, something like that.
So to get it that way that it looks, is that a lot of cutting little lines to give it that look?
Yeah, yeah. Like a lot of like again with metal tools, I just drag it along the surface and like also it's for me I'm not like I said I'm not a like a very experienced sculptor in that I have done this for years. It's everything is quite new for me as well, so I just try out a couple of things, use different tools to see what works, um, what matches the visual idea I have in my head, and yeah, and then I just go with it. um, but yeah, I'm really like happy with how it turned out. Um, so yeah, yeah,
Uh, ca- Now that this is your second dice tower, did anything flow into what you learned from your first dice tower, or was that just well? It looks like a very very different approach. So and
yeah.
is
I think the only thing that is like similar is that there's like toilet paper roll inside. Apparently, toilet paper rolls is the perfect dimension for a dice tower. Um, so that like it gives me something to sculpt around. I think if you don't have any kind of tube or anything that you can use to sculpt around, it becomes very difficult because you need something to sculpt onto. But like for the rest, I don't think there's a lot of similarity between the two dice towers. I think, um, yeah, I think like for example with the castle dice tower, I used magnets to hold the removable pieces in place, and the other one it kind of rests on top, so not even the magnets are similar. But yeah,
now another thing that's uh, sprang into my eye is that little Easter egg you made, and it sits at almost 500 views.
oh
So
wow, yeah.
people did really like that, apparently. So
Yeah, like I had a colleague, and like just before Easter, she said, "Yeah, we're gonna do some like Easter egg painting." And I thought, like, oh, I haven't done that since I was, I don't know, like 5 years old or something. And so I took an egg with me to my workshop, and I thought like, yeah, what can I paint? What can I paint? What can I paint? I don't know. And then it just came to me like, oh, I can make this like a mimic with an open mouth, and I just started. It was like a day of work, I think. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. It was for me. It was more of a side project than like a full sculpt, I would say, because most of my projects they take like about a month or sometimes more to complete, and this one was a day of work. So yeah.
um, talking about the time and maybe the feeling of satisfaction have to have something done. I mean, in that case, I already might know the answer, but is there anything that you put a lot of time in, and at the end you said, "Oh, that was a waste of time"?
Let me think. I don't think no. Like for me, um, I get so much out of the time in my workshop. Um, I don't think like any hour that I'm here, it's not a waste of time. Um, and
Yeah, it's
so in that, yeah,
it's quite similar with me. When I do something and it is done, and even if it has not worked out as I have planned, I still have a weird sense of pride to look at it and
yeah,
say, "Yeah, I made this."
yeah, yeah. It's like I mean, even if it doesn't look the way you planned it, uh, like still you learn a lot, and maybe you get new ideas or whatever. And that for me, that's really important. That like every project I do is that I want to try something new. I want to improve myself, and I, so far that's been the case. So at least like that's how I look at it. I want to learn. I want to experiment, and um, yeah, that's the most important thing to me.
uh, have you ever considered to dabble into 3D sculpting, or is that something you're not interested in?
Um, I used to do that actually. Like before, yeah, I think like before I started sculpting traditionally, I was teaching a 3D modeling and 3D printing course. Um, in like an art academy, and I did some 3D modeling of some monsters. But for me, for me, it's really important to work with my hands, and I I didn't get the same satisfaction of working behind a computer all day, even if it's like a similar result or maybe even more detailed. Um, for me, it's really important to like feel the material, and yeah, I think I'm quite like a um, how do you say this, tactile kind of guy.
Yeah, you like the haptic of things when
Yeah,
you get yeah. I think that is e- even with dices there are if I mean in the wargaming hobby you need to throw a lot of dices, and there are a lot of apps for your phone out there where you can just load in your dices and give
yeah,
the phone a little shake. But I've never seen this anywhere taken off. The people always take their fistful of dice and they love to shake and to throw them, no matter how many and how
yeah,
often. It is, I think, I think something with the human brain, or maybe that we are well, the our hands are our greatest tools,
yeah,
and so we do so much with them, and to well cut off the addiction of touching something is pretty hard. I think you can only learn that of talking of that. There is this flower foam where you put flowers in. It
ah,
is
yeah, the green stuff.
yeah, yeah. It is mostly in green blocks. It is
Yeah,
very raspy in texture, and every time I went into a hobby store and saw it, there are always a lot of finger
yeah,
things in it, and
yeah.
and
That's like the best. Yeah,
and me and my friend, um, we were standing in a modeling store, and we were standing in front of one of these blocks, and I'm looking at this blob, and I said, "Well, I guess these things are." Are predestined for this, and he pushes his thumb in without any reaction. Looks at me. Destined for what? And
yeah.
it was such a great moment, really, the bland look at his face while he is pushing his thumb in this green block. Destined for what?
You can find these kind of things at a modeling shop, because like what would you use them for? They're very. structurally not great to work from, no?
I think they are really for to work with flowers, and
Yeah,
to and Tanner use them to just put wires with the models he's working on in. Just when he lets them cure out,
ah,
he just uses this to push it in. I mean, you could use anything where you can push a wire in, but these green,
yeah.
because I looked at it as, oh yes, that is a great idea to use these green blocks
That is very, very true,
just
actually.
just to push. And I mean, actually, you could push a structure into it to rest a model as it should rest, because
Hmm.
while working, you are well, you are in the situation, okay, this has to cure now, but it has to cure in a certain position, or else whatever, the arm will tilt slightly left or will tilt slightly right, and
Yeah.
I end up using all my paint pots to make a structure to perfectly rest the miniature.
That, like, I recognize that so much. Like sometimes you hold something that's gluing and you think like, yeah, it should stay like this. It should stay like this, and you're looking around like, what can I use to? But this green blocks, they sound like a lifesaver actually.
Yeah, I've
That
right now I don't have one yet, but when I'm getting into more modeling again, because now I'm in kind of a I have to paint something now phase,
yeah.
which is always well, it's always a little changing. And when I started the podcast and I saw and I look at my feed and I was like, okay, there are 3 podcast episodes now, but no painting and anything else. I should do something like that. And then this falls a little off because it's a lot of time management. Oh,
Yeah.
talking of time management, um, how much time in your day uh, does miniature sculpting take away?
Um, Quite a lot actually, because I have a part-time job, um, so that means like I can spend full days working on the stuff that I'm working on. Um, so now I think I get like three, I think 3 full days per week that I'm like 8 or 9 hours in my workshop, um, which is quite a lot. But yeah, like because but at the same time I'm doing a part-time job, so my finances are limited. That's like the other downside. But that's for me that's like a personal choice because I really need to have this creative time to work on my ideas, um, and yeah, it's like a balance that I created.
To not very subtly change the subject, you are a role playing gamer.
Yes.
What systems are you currently playing?
But at the moment, I'm playing like I think only Dungeons and Dragons. There's a possibility I might try some Call of Cthulhu, which I'm really interested in. But for the moment, it's Dungeons and Dragons, and yeah. But I'm very curious to try out different things, but it's quite difficult to find groups that are interested in trying other things, especially now with the coronavirus. Nobody wants to meet anymore, so which is normal, of course. Um, but yeah, like now I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons online, but I very much would prefer to do this in person. Like I'm making all these miniatures and I want to use them. So Yeah, but
Yeah,
I hope hopefully soon it will start to get back to normal again, and then I can show off my work on the table.
yeah, you are, well, obviously, you are on the very creative side, and I think you are, well, are you a a dungeon master or hero, or can you switch in between?
I did both. I was for a long time I was a dungeon master, and I had a lot of fun doing this, thinking of different ideas of for the players and stuff like that. Um, but now I'm mostly a player, and the dungeon master is my brother, and I'm like very surprised. Like he seems a lot more in control than I was being a dungeon master, and to be honest, I kind of like being the player and um, yeah, living through the story instead of organizing everything beforehand. Because like my organization skills are like far from ideal, I would say, and I feel like a dungeon master really needs some skills in this, and that was something that was difficult for me, but it was fun. Um, but I feel like I'm more of a player and like maybe creator as well. Um, in a way that I like for most of my sculpts, there's like a backstory behind it, so that it would possibly be used, it can be used in a role-playing game setting.
Yeah, keeping control of the party is something one has to. Well, there are now tutorials out there and explanations out there how to handle
Mm.
the group, but I started out quite young, and yeah, I was learning by doing. I was player. I was well, a dungeon master in different systems, and I think the most horrific thing where I still feel sorry about our dungeon master was we after the first encounter, which totally which almost wiped the party. We decided to ignore his plot completely,
Of course, of course.
and and we were for the rest of the campaign we did not touch the plot at all. He did let the plot progress, the plot he planned out.
Yeah.
But well, it was something that happened in the background, and my character became a crime lord, and the two of the other characters became basically henchmen of me, of my syndicate, and the other character actually joined the police force. And so we had a suddenly we had a split crime drama running, and it was great fun because everyone was very experienced and our dungeon master was really laid back about it. But to this day, I still feel sorry that we pulled that on him. But it also shows the situations you can get in, and I do not often get in these situations. I remember back in the day there was a Dungeons and Dragons party, and we were basically through a story arc, and our dungeon master wanted to start the next story arc, and none of our none of the player characters had any interest into following that story arc, and I could just see it in his face how disappointed and lost he was in that moment.
That's yeah. Like I couldn't deal with that. Like when I was a dungeon master, um, I ran like pre-made modules that I would like adapt. Um, but like to make a homebrew campaign, I would be horrified if my players would say, "Ah, no, we don't want all the work that you've put into this. We just want something else," and that would be like very painful to me, I think. Um,
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
is. It is a strange balance because as a player, and well, most of the time you are not strangers to each other. It's not a pickup game. You are friends for a long time, or well, in my case, friends for a long time, and then
yeah,
when you do something like that, like, okay, I do not really want to do that, but we are friends, and I know how much work you put into that, so I say yes anyway and try to make it work.
yeah,
It becomes a kind of a weird relationship between player and dungeon master that changes over the time, and what plans you have. I think every young group starts out with the dungeon master as antagonist that tries to kill the group,
yeah,
which
yeah,
I mean, all he does is trying to. Well, in the best case scenario, he's trying to challenge the players and not to kill them, but there are dice rolls involved,
yeah.
and
Of
as
course.
soon as that part is involved, things can go horribly wrong very fast in both directions. And I know that from a final boss fight, so to say, where of in another system, in the Dark Heresy system, where you have the potential to infinite damage. Our our priest just critical hit the boss demon in the second round into oblivion. And it was very anticlimactic in that case,
Yeah.
but it was you have such joy just to see the dice roll, and you see, okay, 10 again, 10 again, 10 again, now we're up to 40 damage. Does he still live? No.
No, like for me, like when I'm as a player, I really enjoy the fact that like it can be over like at any time, you know, because that's what makes it exciting. I don't want to be like to play with a dungeon master that is like
uh
I don't
can
want to
can
kill
i
them. I
can i
will
cut
touch the
it
dice.
can I cut in real quick? I don't
Yeah,
know if something is clicking constantly in the background.
yeah. I think it's my laptop.
Huh, okay.
I
We,
hear it too, and I cannot see what it is.
okay,
So it
so
must be my laptop.
I guess so we and the listener just have to suffer through that. It is
Yeah,
not
I'm very sorry.
but it is like you are turning a bicycle wheel in the background a little bit. But it is not that annoying, but I just wanted to check it if it is something we can cut out.
No,
Please,
I feel like my laptop is very old, and I feel like it could die at any moment. So it's probably my laptop.
I don't want to scare you, but last weekend both my external hard drives died on me, so
Ah, no, don't scare me like this. I don't need this kind of information. No, like my laptop is like extremely close to dying, and like I don't, I really should make backups and everything like that. Everybody says, "Ah, you always have to make backups," but oh my God, I've never done this in my life, so I'm very scared for these kind of things. But yeah,
I I did cut you off out of your story. Just
Mm,
let's really reel it back to your experience as a player.
yeah, yeah. So what I was saying, for me, I want to experience the danger of the setting. You know, like if there's a monster coming to me and it can kill me, if it kills me, I'm okay with that. You know, I want this. I don't know. Yeah, the sense of danger should be very real for me, I think. Um, and I don't want the dungeon master to like fudge the dice and say like, ah, I rolled a one again. Too bad. Um, but like, if a monster scores a critical and it kills me, so be it. You know, that's the story, and it can make for a great story. Um, I will make a new character, and it will be just as fun as before. I think so. For me, it's really important to have this um, excitement during the game, and not be like, ah, we will just live through this, and there will be another monster, and we will kill it, and that will be boring for me. I think.
Yeah, I think you will feel right at home at Call of Cthulhu because it is a play to lose game. So it is it
Yeah,
is it is. I played two adventures with a group with my current group before we switched through some uh, to some other system. But Cthulhu, yes, if the players are really aware of the dread and the horror and well the outcome that well your character will go mad, will be eaten by something horrific, or well if you are down to that,
yeah,
yeah, it is a great game. It is just it it is a struggle, but when you come to grips that that you are basically struggling as long as you can, it becomes basically like a roguelike computer game where you just
hmm
want to know how long you can push it and stay alive. And that is well, that was the joy of Call of Cthulhu for me. We did I think at the end of the first adventure, my first character committed suicide because he unleashed a demon and could not cope with it because he was a doctor and very rational,
yeah,
and saw one of the party members getting eaten by the demon. Well, the whole party unleashed the demon, but one of them got eaten, and it was it, ju- the, there is a interesting sense of trauma you can play with Call of Cthulhu,
yeah,
and it is encouraged, which which other systems do not do, because actually in my opinion all hero characters should at one point of their career suffer from the stress disorder, because
yeah,
it is a whole life of constant threats and killing,
yeah,
and your life put on the line, and well, it is like, oh, we went through it and now we level up and I got better stats now and I'm now better at killing. uh, it is well, different people take different joys out of the game, and you have your archetypes, like someone who really enjoys the role playing part, someone who really enjoys the tinkering with the rules, the adjusting, the maxing out the character,
yeah,
and all of that. And it, the golden rule is really know your party. When you know the people you play with very good, you are and you use that as a dungeon master, and well, you use that as a player, you get some really great results in
yeah.
my experience.
Yeah, you have to find like a balance between like who is better at this and who is better at that. But because like for example, I'm very much like a prepping player. Like if I know we were like for example in our campaign we knew we were going to fight a giant, and I did everything I could just to find as much information on how to deal with this and make traps or whatever. And I'm not going to be like blindly run into a combat because that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, like if it was me in real life, I would also be like, okay, what can I do in advance to make sure that I come out of this alive? And that's like a big part of the fun for me. It's not just the fight itself, actually.
You like being Batman.
I like being Batman. That's true. Yeah,
Well, it is basically that you find out a lot in beforehand, and you are prepared, and you have a fight in your advantage, that is not nothing to look down on.
yeah,
A Well, it can escalate.
Hmm.
Sometimes I had that with one of my earliest D&D groups, and I put them in front of a very simple fight, and they were so overthinking it in that I was so frustrated at the end, and I was like, okay, good, your plan worked out, you killed him. Here's your experience.
Yeah, like for me, it's like even if you have the best plan, you can still yeah, roll bad dice, and it goes to shit. And but that's like that's a big part of the fun, you know. Like even if it goes wrong, you're still there to enjoy yourself, and that's really all that matters, I think.
Yes, of course, and you can also work with it. I mean, you can. Uh, my players had worked out a very good plan, and I. It was in principle two scenes. Two players were working out the plan in one part of the town, and two players were working out the plan in the other part of town.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed it very smoothly to narrate between the two parts,
Yeah,
and
that's impressive.
and and it worked out so well, and with and it even worked itself into a cliffhanger I had prepared, but as I was narrating their plan, the cliffhanger it was going to was so much more mind blowing. It was, I think, they that was the first time players applauded me.
Oh wow, nice.
that
I never had that, unfortunately.
it was such a great moment, and I sadly it could it lightning did not strike in that regard. Did not strike twice in that regard. That is the saying.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was, and sometimes well, 50% of the times players come up with ideas. You as a game master think to yourself, "Oh, that's so much more intelligent and better than I have come up with.
yeah.
I will now steal that idea from you and not telling you at all."
Yeah. No, like I once I had like my players, they came up with an idea to basically defeat the boss, and but they didn't want to tell me, and I was like I said to them, like, I'm not working against you, and even if I know this story, like, the boss will not know that, he cannot prepare for this, but I just want to know what you're going to do so that I can think of what will happen when you do it, like in the world. And it was quite interesting for them to, like for me to see them have this feeling of being like against the dungeon master, but that's not what, like, that's not the game that I run, you know. I'm but I need like all the information so that I can make your story work. Like the things that you want to do, I want to make them work, um, like within reason, of course. But if you're not going to tell me what you plan, it will be a very, like, a lousy game, you know?
Yeah, in that case it is a very delicate balance where
Yeah,
when they decide not to tell, well, sometimes, well, it can work out in some kind of ways, and then don't again, because it uh, when players try to pull something off, you should say yes and yes and yes, and sooner or later you will get at a point where you say, okay, that does not work for X and Y reasons, and you don't know how deep in their plan you are right now, and
yeah,
it well this, as you said, within reason.
yeah,
Sometimes, or
Yeah,
more or less reason is thrown out the window when it comes to role playing games.
yeah,
It was a great motivational poster where you have a big forklift lifting up a middle-sized forklift, which lifted up a tiny-sized forklift, and
yeah.
the caption was, you're never prepared what your players will do to solve the problem."
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
So, for the last 5 minutes, let's do a little blitz round in what you are planning and doing right now, because you were doing a shout out for a collaboration. Has anyone answered that shout out?
Well, you answered the shout out.
I know that.
But like the thing is, I'm a creator. I can come up with all these ideas. I can sculpt them. I can draw. That's not a problem. The thing is, I'm not a writer, um, and I'm not that proficient in like making homebrew content for Dungeons and Dragons. Like that's the system that I know, and I would like to create. Um, I don't know, maybe like one shots or to create monsters and to use my sculpts and my drawings as art in those kind of homebrew projects and but like I can write the stuff that I have, but it it doesn't work. Like in my mind, I see what I want, but I cannot put it on paper because that's not how my brain works. And so I thought, like, yeah, I need somebody to work with me or to help me or whatever. And I thought to just throw it out there because like you said before, the community on Instagram is really welcoming, and um, I just want to see what can come of this, because I'm interested to not only share like the sculpts that I do, but also like the ideas that I have behind them.
So, if any one of the listeners feels confident to help out my dear guest, they can hit you up on Instagram.
Yeah, send me a DM on Instagram or like I read all the comments on my YouTube videos, and I try to reply to them as well. So there's like numerous ways to get in contact with me. That's for sure. And I'm curious to hear like propositions, and I can also do like if you already have some story or a monster and you feel like I need some art for it. That's also something that I'm really curious into starting actually. So
Well, that is a great offer. Well, considering the work you've done so far and
thank you.
how great your work looks. Well, if anyone answers the call, good. If not, I will jump in and
Yeah.
and I will take control.
No, but like we can definitely like talk about ideas and see where it goes. I mean, I have so many things like halfly written down and in my mind. Um, I don't need. I can work with a lot of people and see where it goes. So if you want to, if you want to start working on something, just hit me up and let's go.
Those are some great closing words. We have blasted through an hour. It felt
It's quick.
like it felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, definitely.
It was great having you. I
Yeah, it
wish
was lots of fun.
Yeah, I wish you all the best, and of course that your slug wizard will win the slug. Is it a competition or is it just enter
Um,
and donation is made?
I think it's called an invitational, so I don't think it's a competition. Um, I just like when I saw it, I immediately had the idea of like a wizard riding a slug as a cowboy, and I just thought to make it. I didn't really think about if it was a competition or not. So
Okay, great. Uh, it looks good. I admire it. I just recognized how well you done the little snail eyes. It is.
yeah, the thing is it completely like exploded is maybe a big word, but for like my size of for my account, it was like the most liked picture um, ever. So, but like I didn't make any video of this. It was like a side project for me, and now I'm regretting that I didn't film it so I could like make a like a YouTube video on it. But
A
um,
very slow snail tutorial.
yeah,
Okay,
no, but like yeah, let's end it here.
let's wrap it up. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for your time. Uh,
thank you for having me.
we will meet again.
I hope so. I hope so.
And everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe and have a good one.